Hello and welcome. Welcome to Three Barns of Charm. My name is Leanne and I am so happy you guys are here today. You guys, today's tutorial is so stinking cute. Look, it's a tiered tray. Isn't this so cute? You guys are not going to believe what we make this out of. I promise you it's super easy, super fun, and super affordable, you guys. You can make it any color you want, any size you want. We're gonna go through this step by step. I promise you can do it. It's super easy. So if you want to learn how to make one of these for your very own, then stick around because I'm gonna teach you. All right, guys. Well, let's get started. Let's quickly go over what you need to actually make your tiered tray, the supplies and the tools. It's really simple, guys. You're gonna need 2 sets of the Dollar Tree burner covers. You're gonna need both pieces. You're going to need the small and the large, and you're going to need 2 full sets. So I have my 2 sets here. You're also going to need 1 candle holder, and I noticed that Dollar Tree has changed up their candle holders a little bit. You don't have to use this particular candle holder if you don't want to. You can use a different style, but this is the one that I used, the candle holder here. This is the 6.5 inch style. There's also a 6 inch. I believe the one with the wider base is an older model. Don't quote me on that, but I think that they are phasing these out and they're bringing in these. Both will work just fine. Matter of fact, the new style, even though that the base is a little bit more narrow, the top part is a little bit wider, and that's more important, really. But either style will work. You can also use an 8 inch. You don't have to use the short. So if you want a little bit more space between your top plate and your bottom plate, you're more than welcome to use an 8 inch. And I believe there might even be something a little bit larger than that. I don't know what the size is, maybe 12 or 13. I'm not really sure, but it's completely up to you guys. But sky's the limit. You can make it any size you want. You're also going to need something for feet. I just used wood beads. I'm using 3. This is a 1 inch wood bead, but you guys can use anything you want. You don't even have to use feet. I just wanted to lift mine off the ground just a little bit, just to give it a little bit more pizzazz, I guess, but you don't have to do that. But you can use anything for feet. And that's what you're going to need supply wise. Now for the tools you're going to need, of course, you're going to need some super glue. I'm using the gel style. It's a little bit more manageable and a little thicker. It won't run all over the place. So I like the gel. And yes, Dollar Tree sells the super glue gel. Dollar Tree does carry super glue gel. This one, you can see I've gotten all I can out of that one. So I went to Menards, the hardware store in town, and got more of the gel. I like the gel. It's a lot more manageable than the actual runny super glue itself. And I just put mine upside down just to make it a little bit easier to squeeze out. You're going to need a ruler, some paper towels, a pencil. You're going to need like a sanding sponge and sandpaper. I know that Dollar Tree does sell sanding sponges, so that would work just fine. You just need something to scratch the surface of your metal covers. You're going to need some rubbing alcohol, and/or you could probably get away with Windex or something like that, but you need something to clean the surface after we scratch it up. And then you're going to need something kind of heavy to put on top of your tiered tray to kind of push it down once we get everything glued together. All right, well, let's get started. Future Editing Leanne here. I just wanted to let you know that if you wish to decoupage your tiered trays with fabric and or paper, skip to 2807 and follow those steps first before assembling your tiered tray. You need your stove covers separate to use as a template to cut out your circles. Then come back to 440 and finish out your steps. All right, well, the very first step that we're going to do is we're going to sand the surfaces that we're gluing on our covers. So I will warn you guys that because these are kind of a thin metal, it's difficult to see inside the package if there is damage to your cover. So be very careful when you guys purchase these from the Dollar Tree that you really look at the product through the packaging, through the plastic, to make sure they're not dented. You could get away with one side being dented, but you really want the other one to be pretty nice. If it's dented or crushed in any way, it's going to be a little bit difficult to flatten that out. So just word of the wise is to make sure that your stove covers are flat and they're not bent. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're just going to sand the surfaces that are getting glued. So you're going to take your sanding block, and it's just I'm not sure what grit this is. Oh, it's 80, but really any grit will do. 120, 220 will be fine. You're just trying to scrape up the surface of your metal. And you're just literally just going to lay it flat, and don't press too hard. You don't want to damage and don't press too hard because you don't want to bend your cover. You're just going to press down and just kind of, you're just scraping the surface and creating like a rougher surface so the glue can hold on to that rougher surface. And I'm just going in a circular motion. I'm not pressing very hard. I'm just roughing the surface. I don't know if you guys will be able to see that, but I'm just scratching very small scratches into the surface. I'm just dulling the surface. And it really doesn't matter what pattern is on it. It really does not matter because we're gonna be painting these. And I'm not pressing hard, guys. I'm just scratching the surface because these will then eventually be glued together just like that. So we're just scratching the surface of where it's going to get glued. You just want to make sure you get all the surfaces. You're going to lay yours flat on a tabletop and sand it. I'm picking mine up because my phone is connected to my tabletop and I'm not trying to give you guys motion sickness. Hopefully it's not rocking back and forth too bad. And I'm just circling, just going round and round in a circle. Just scratching up that surface. You don't have to spend a whole lot of time on this. You're just creating scratches. You're just taking the shine off. And then whatever on your large, see how this one is damaged, guys? It's kind of tough to see, but you can see that it's been creased when it through shipping, I'm thinking. So I'm going to make this the bottom piece. So this piece is going to sit down on the bottom, and then this piece will be on top like that. So this is the piece we'll actually see. And then whichever large tray, not the small one, but the large one, whichever one is going to be the surface you're going to decorate, you're going to scratch in the middle about a 2-inch circle. So this, like I said, this is going to be my foot, and then this tray is going to sit on top like that, and then I'll have my candle holder coming up like that. Actually, it's going to be like that, but you'll see. So this is where my candlestick is going to sit. So I'm going to scratch the surface right here. So I'm just going to scratch right in the middle. And I'm just scratching right in the middle. Just to give it something to hold on to. Just like that. See that, guys? Just scratching the surface. And then whichever one, so this one's going to be my smaller one. This is the one that's going to be facing up, and this is the one going to be facing down. So again, we're going to do the same thing right in the middle, but a larger circle this time. You're going to do the base of your, believe it or not, the widest part is going on the smaller circle, guys. I know it's opposite of what you're thinking. The smaller is going to go on the larger circle. I don't want to confuse you. So the larger piece, this is our top piece. So we're going to put the bottom of our candle holder up against the smaller circle. So whether you choose this style or this style, I think I'm going to use this style this time. So I'm going to scratch right in the middle here. So just right in the middle. And again, guys, you don't have to take a whole lot of time. And I'm thinking the super glue will hold even if you didn't scratch it up. But I'm just trying to get the best hold. And then once you're done sanding, you're going to take your rubbing alcohol and you're going to clean all the surfaces. So take your paper towel and then just clean all the surfaces. Just clean it up. So if there's any oil from your hands or from shipping or the manufacturer, you're just getting up all that little sanding residue. Just clean all the surfaces. Just be careful with them because these are kind of fragile. So if you press too hard on them, they will bend. So you want to be careful not to put too much pressure on them. So again, make sure that if you have a damaged tray, that one's facing down. And the pretty smooth tray that's not damaged is facing up. And make sure that you have your center scratched out. And all we're going to do, guys, is we're going to glue these two together. That's all we're going to do. So I'm going to take my handy dandy super glue and I'm going to go around all the edges and then put some in the middle. I'm not getting real close to the edge. I'm sort of close to the edge, but not right on the edge in case it oozes out. So I'm giving a little bit of space for my glue to ooze out. And then I'm just kind of getting it right in the middle and then everywhere else. And then you're going to sandwich these together, butt to butt. And I'm just kind of pushing my fingers along the edge. And you can feel if it's not together. You can just, and the super glue won't immediately hold. You kind of have to press down. And better yet, if you have something kind of heavy, like a milk jug with water in it, you can set that on top and let that cure. And you're going to want to let that cure for about 15 minutes. So you're going to want to sandwich it together and then move on to your other set. So I'm just going to push this to the side and I'm going to let that cure. And I'm going to do the very same thing to the smaller set. And you're going to pick your set. So this one was the one that was scratched. So now because this is the top, the scratch side is going to be the bottom. So if you have a damaged small one, you want that to be on the bottom and you want the non-damaged one on the top. And all you're doing, guys, is you're just sandwiching it together again. That's all you're doing. So again, take your super glue, go around the edge, put some in the middle and squeeze together. And I just kind of put my fingers along the edge just to make sure that it's matching up. And it doesn't have to be perfect, it just needs to be close. And you guys will feel it if there's one further out than the other. Just scoot it with your thumbs. And then again, you're going to want to put something heavy on top of this to let it cure. And I just have a tub of drywall compound from another project. So I'm just going to set that on top of that. And I'm going to let that cure for about 15 minutes, and then we'll do the next step. All right, well, now that we're waiting for our glue to cure on our stove covers, we're going to prep our candlestick. And again, you guys can use any size candlestick you want. I'm going to use this particular style. And again, we're just going to prep the top and the bottom. So again, we're just going to take our sandpaper and we're just going to scratch all along the top and all along the bottom where the glue is going to sit. And then you'll want to clean it up with a little bit of rubbing alcohol or Windex just to get all those little bits off. And if there's any oils on there from shipping. And this is a good time to take a look at your candlestick and see, because these are Dollar Tree candlesticks, a lot of times they won't be super square. They might be a little bit bent. So gently you can set it on your tabletop and kind of bend it in case if it's going one way or the other. You can just gently kind of bend it so it's more up and down. But this one looks pretty good. All right, guys. Well, now we're going to move on to the next step, and that is gluing your candlestick to your tray. So remember, we're going to be gluing our candlestick upside down. You don't have to do it this way, but I feel like it gives a little bit more, I feel like it makes it more stable for the tray itself, for the upper level. So, but again, you guys can make it any which way you want. If you want to glue your candlestick upside up with the bottom side on the bottom of the tray, you can absolutely do that. I just chose to do it this way because I felt like it gave the upper level of your tray a little bit more stability. But you guys can do it any way you want. All right, guys, well, we're going to start out with the larger circle. This is the base of our tiered tray. And remember, we scratched out the center of our tiered tray so we can glue our candlestick down a little bit easier. So all you're going to do is you're going to place your candle holder right in the center of your circle. You can absolutely eyeball it if you want to, or you can take your ruler and just measure. So this is going to be a little bit difficult for you guys to see because of the base, but I'll do my best to show you guys. But all you're going to do is you're going to place this in the center, and then you're going to take your ruler and you're going to butt your ruler right up to the base of your candle holder and get your measurement from the candle holder all the way out to the edge of the tray. And you're going to make that even all the way around. And I believe my measurement was around 4 3/16, but you guys get your measurements and see how your candle holder sits. And that's basically all what you're going to do, is you're just going to center your candlestick right in the middle of your tray. And I believe it is about 4 3/16. I'm going to scoot this down just a little bit. But again, you guys can absolutely eyeball it if you wish. You don't have to make it perfect. And then once you get the candlestick where you want, then you're going to take a pencil or a fine tip marker and you're just going to draw a circle around the base. Let me hold this, see if I can do this. You're just going to draw a circle around the base of your candlestick. And I'm just going to take my pencil and go and you're drawing right on your tray, right on the white tray. Just hold your candlestick so it doesn't scoot around. So then when you take your candlestick off, you have your circle already marked on your tray. So when you add your glue to your candlestick, then you can place it right back down. You can place it right back down in center, and you don't have to guess where center is, and then your glue will firm up on you and you won't be able to move it. So the circle is just placement, so when you get your glue on there, you can immediately put it right down in center. And now we're going to take our smaller side, and because this is my pretty side, I'm going to flip it over. And you're going to want to make sure that you have scratched the center of the smaller side. So again, this is my pretty side. This is going to be facing up. This is the side where my candlestick's going to get glued. So you want to make sure you scratched the center of that. And now we're going to be doing the same thing that we did with the larger circle, we're going to do with the smaller tray. But this time I'm going to use the bottom of my candlestick, and we're going to find center. So again, just kind of eyeball it, and then just kind of take your ruler, and I just butt it up against the base of my candle holder, and it's about 2.5 inches there. So we'll go on the other side, and it looks like it's a little bit over, so I'm going to scoot it this way just a hair, and then go back over here, and I would say that's pretty good. It's slightly over 2.5 inches. And again, we'll go to the top. I'm going to scoot that down just a hair. Look at the bottom, and see it's a little bit over, so we're going to need to scoot that down just a hair. But again, you guys can eyeball it. You absolutely can eyeball it. And that looks pretty good right there. For those of you that are curious, it looks like it's about 2 5/8 for those that are very particular. I know you're out there. But again, you guys don't overthink it. And now you're going to take your pencil, and you're just going to draw a circle right on your tray. If you don't have a pencil, a marker, or some fine tip ink pen will work, or marker, just so you can mark your spot. And now you can glue your candlestick. So once you put some glue on the edge of your candlestick, then you can line it up real easy, so you know where center is, because we know that glue is going to set real fast. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just start here. You can start with the large if you want to, but I'm just going to go ahead and just, because we're right here, I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on the edge of my candlestick, and I'm going to set it right down. And I'm going to be fairly generous with my glue. You don't want it to be running or anything, but you definitely want to be fairly generous with your glue. It's better to have a little more. It's better to have a little bit more than a little less. And you're going to go all the way around the edge of your glue stick. And I'm going right on the edge. And then when you flip it over, take your time with this, but once you set it down, you don't have a lot with fooling around. So you want to make sure that you get it right in the center of your circle. And if it oozes out a little bit, just take a little paper towel. Now be careful, it will get on your fingers. So just fold you up a paper towel and just put pressure on your candlestick. So I'm going to put pressure down on my candlestick. And now I'm just going to take my paper towel and just go around the edge and clean up any excess glue. And let that dry for maybe 5-10 minutes. And then you'll go ahead then and glue it to your large circle. Once your candlestick has dried to one of your trays, whether you started with the large or the small, then you can move on to gluing the other side to the other side. And what I mean by that is we're going to glue this piece then to this piece. And again, we're just going to do the very same thing. I'm going to put some glue around the complete edge of the top of my candlestick, and I'm going to set it right down in that circle right there. I'm going to put a little bit of pressure on my candlestick and go while I'm putting glue on my candlestick. I'll flip it over. And it'll be tough for you guys to see, but I'm just going to put it right on that circle. And there's a little bit of excess glue, so I'm just going to wipe the excess glue just like we did last time. Just remember to hold your candlestick while you're wiping that extra glue up, because it will kind of scoot around on you while it's curing. And then we're going to set that aside to cure for another 5-10 minutes. All right, guys, well, we're going to move on to the final step of building our tray, and we're just putting on some feet. And this is an optional step, you guys. You don't have to put feet on your tray. I just wanted to add a little bit of height to my tray just to lift it off of the surface. Again, you guys can make it however you want. I'm just using these 1-inch wood beads, but you guys can use anything that will lift it off the surface that extends past that tray height. So, and I would say that's probably about a 1/2 inch to 3/4. It looks like the tray depth is about a 1/2 inch. So anything that's larger than a 1/2 inch would make great feet. And again, I'm just using my super glue. I would not recommend using hot glue for this particular project, guys. I'm not sure the longevity of that hot glue. I would think that the hot glue over time will weaken and release. It might do okay for a short amount of time, but I think the super glue will give you a lot longer life for your tray. And I'm just generous with my glue, and I'm just going to set it right down on my tray. And careful, guys, when you put your little feet on, don't just push down your feet into the tray. You want to use your hand underneath to support your tray while you put your feet on. If you just put your little feet on and push down, you might bend your tray. So you want to make sure that you put support underneath your tray when you're putting your little feet on. And I just spaced my beads out just kind of evenly. It's better to put 3 feet on than 4 feet, because with 3, it'll have like a tripod effect. If you put 4 on, if you're not on a fully level surface, or if your tray is not fully level, it might rock back and forth. That's why I'm using 3 feet, and that way then you have a tripod effect and it won't rock. And there you have it, guys. Your very own Dollar Tree Supply tiered tray. I told you it was easy, and I knew you could do it. Now the fun part. You can paint it, you can add ribbon, you can do all kind of fun stuff to your own tiered tray. Super easy and super fun, you guys. If you want to see how I customize this Dollar Tree tray, then keep watching, because I'm going to show you. All right, guys. Well, let's move on to the next step. You can absolutely leave your tiered tray just as it is. You do not have to paint it, nor do you have to decoupage it. But if you wish to do so, what I did is I just went ahead and took a little bit of spray paint and spray painted my tiered tray. It's kind of a soft pale blue color, and it's in a chalky finish, but you can make it glossy, semi-gloss, flat, whatever you like. I just went ahead and let that dry. And while I was at the Dollar Tree getting the supplies, I noticed that Dollar Tree had some really darling fabrics. Aren't these super cute, you guys? Oh my gosh, super cute. So all you need to do, and again, you guys can use tissue paper, you can use napkins, you can use wrapping paper. I chose to do some fabric this time. And really, you don't need a whole lot of fabric. A fat quarter will do. And you're just going to kind of lay out your fabric. And you're going to want to do this step if you want to decoupage the surfaces of your tiered trays. You're going to want to do this step first. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our trays before we assemble, and we're going to lay them down on our material. So if you're doing fabric or napkins or tissue paper, whatever the case may be, you're going to lay that face down, and then you're going to take your trays and you're also going to lay those face down, and you're just going to trace out your circles onto the material that you're using. So I'm going to take some tailor's chalk, but a pencil will do just fine, and you're just going to draw a circle You're just going to trace the bottom side of your circle onto your material. You're going to go all the way around. And for this step, I recommend using a pencil or chalk. I don't recommend using a Sharpie marker or an ink pen because you don't want that to seep into your fabric, nor do you want it to be super dark. And then you just cut out your circle. And I'm going to do the same thing with my large tray. Scooch my tray up and get as much as I possibly can. And just trace it out. You're going to go all the way around. And then you're going to cut each piece out. So you're going to cut your large circle out and you're going to cut your small circle out. Regular scissors are fine. And if you don't have fabric scissors, believe it or not, guys, the pink handled scissors at Dollar Tree work fabulously for fabric. So if you don't have a real good pair of fabric scissors, believe it or not, these pink handled scissors do really well on fabric. So now just cut your large circle out and your small circle out, and we'll move on to the next step. And I'm just going to rough cut mine. So I have my circles in two separate pieces. So I'm not battling this larger piece of fabric. So I'm just going to rough cut my circle out first. And then when you cut your circles out, guys, you want to make sure, no matter the material that you're using, whether it's napkins, wrapping paper, fabric, your choice, you're going to want to cut on the inside of this line. If you cut on the outside, your circle might be a little bit too large to fit inside your tray. It'll kind of go up on the sides. So you want it to cut, you want to cut on the inside of that circle. And just take your time with this. And you want to cut it as neatly as you possibly can. So you don't want it to be real jagged. It doesn't have to be a perfect circle. Don't sweat that. But if you have jagged edges, you'll see those. So you want your edge to be as smooth as possible. And see how there's a jagged edge right there? Might be tough to see. You want to make sure that it's a smooth, continuous edge. And if you guys have a rotary cutter, by all means you can use that. If you feel more comfortable with just rotary cutting, easy for me to say, rotor cut around that edge, you can absolutely do that as well. If you feel more comfortable with taking an iron to your fabric before you cut it out, you absolutely can do that as well. I think I have a little bit extra fabric over here, so I'm going to go back and trim up my circle a little bit. All right, and then what we're going to do is flip it over, make sure we're still on the back side. We're going to take our candlestick and put it right in the middle. And remember, this is for the large tray. This is for the bottom tray. And the candlestick, the small end of the candlestick gets glued to the large circle. So we're going to use the small side of the candlestick and we're going to put it right in the middle, and we're going to cut a circle right out of the middle that will fit this end. So this is about 1.25 inches, so we're just going to put this right in the middle. So to find middle, we're just going to fold our circle in half and finger crease it, and then fold it the other way, match ends, and finger crease it. And then right where those folds meet, right in the middle, right here, we're going to cut a hole out that's about 1.25 inches. So we're just going to use the circumference of the small end of your candlestick. And it's going to be tough for you guys to see, but I'm going to center this circle right in the middle, right there. And I'm just going to kind of eyeball it. And then I'm going to take my pencil or chalk and I'm going to draw another circle right around that small end of the candlestick. And once again, we're going to cut that circle out. See that, guys? And now we're just going to cut that circle out. And then along with that, we're going to cut one slit to get to that circle. So flip your fabric over, and if you have an upside to your fabric, if it's directional, I'm going to cut the slit at the back of my design. So I'm going to put the slit right up here because this will be the front of my tiered tray. So I'm going to put the slit right in the back. So I'm going to cut a slit right back here. Can you guys see that? See how because this would be upside down. And that's what I mean by if you have direction. Not everybody's fabric will be directional. Like these fabrics here, there is no upside down really. It's kind of the same fabric. And same with this print. See how there's really no direction to this one. But with this one, you want the pumpkin sitting upside up. So I'm going to put the slit at the back. So this will be on the back side of my tiered tray. And this will be at the front. But it's really splitting hairs at this point. So I'm going to cut a slit from the edge all the way into my circle. And again, guys, you want to make sure that you cut a clean cut. You don't want it to be super jagged. So I'm going to cut right into that circle. Just like that. See that? And then I'm going to cut the remainder of this circle out. You're not cutting it in half. You're not going to go all the way through. You're just cutting from the edge to the very center. And now I'm going to take my smaller scissors and cut out the inner circle. And if it helps, you can cut little relief slits right there to kind of help open it up. And now you can cut, see that, guys? Can you see that? From the edge right to the center. And now I'm going to remove this little bit right in here. Go back and check your work and see how it's kind of a little bit of a jagged cut. I'm just going to kind of clean up my cut and make sure that I got it all the way to my chalk line. Now I'm going to finish and cut this out. And there we go. All right, guys. We'll set that to the side. And then we'll cut out our small circle. And with the small circle, all you have to do is just cut out the circle. You don't have to cut a hole in the middle, and you don't have to cut a slit. You're just cutting out just the circle. That's all you got to do. Remember to cut on the inside of your line. And you should have something that looks like that. Go back and make sure that you got all your edges very smooth, nothing too jagged. Got a little bit of a jaggy piece right there. So we'll take that piece off. But you don't have to make it 100% perfect, guys, I promise. You just want it to be able to fit into your tray. And that is our next step. So I want to make sure that my pumpkins are facing me. And we're going to take our tray and we're just going to lay our fabric right down in our tray. And we're going to make sure that it fits. So I might need to take off just a little bit, just trim it up. And it's okay if it folds up on the sides just a little bit, but you don't want a lot coming up the sides because it'll wrinkle on you. So you just want to take both pieces and you just want to dry fit them into your trays. See how that fits down in there just like that? And my lower piece fits pretty good. I think both pieces fit pretty nice. So what we're going to do, we're going to Mod Podge these fabric pieces onto our trays. Now the trick here is to make sure that you don't have any little dust particles or little bits of fabric or little strings or threads on the back side of your fabric. You want to make sure that it's clean with no little bits of anything on the back side, because once you Mod Podge that down, it'll create like a little bubble and you'll see it. It won't be super obvious, but you will be able to see it. And again, you want to make sure that you blow off the surfaces of your tiered tray as well. Now I'm just going to brush the surfaces of my trays off and make sure that there's no little hairs or threads or pieces of fabric on our both surfaces. I will say this, guys, if you use a matte Mod Podge and a matte spray paint, it'll hide your imperfections a lot better than glossy if you do a matte finish. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put some Mod Podge on the surface of our tiered tray, and then we're going to lay our fabric right down on top of our Mod Podge. I'm going to be using the matte finish Mod Podge because my paint is also matte finish. If I were to put a glossy Mod Podge on here, not only will it kind of heighten any little bumps that I have, it will also show up against my paint. So matte finish Mod Podge, matte finish paint. If I had a glossy paint on here, then I'd want to use a glossy Mod Podge. And I'm just using a Dollar Tree brush. This brush has seen some better days, but hey, you know, don't judge. This is a judge-free zone. And I'm going to be fairly generous with my Mod Podge, and I'm going to go all the way to the edge. I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to brush it all the way to right to the edge. I'm not going up the sides, I'm just going right to the edge. And you want your Mod Podge to be fairly smooth. And if you see any little bits of debris in there, you want to grab those before you put your fabric down. And I'm supporting my tray with my other hand. I'm not just brushing it along. I'm actually holding my tray with my other hand just to give it a little bit of support. I'm going to make sure my Mod Podge is evenly coated. Get it all the way to the edge. Now I'm going to take my fabric and I'm going to just kind of make a U and lay it down in and roll it out. I'm not just plopping it down. I'm kind of folding it in half and setting it down and then smoothing it out. Just get it right down in the middle as evenly as you can. And then you're just going to start pushing it down. Just push, push, push. Be gentle, especially if you're using tissue paper or a napkin. This part gets very delicate. And I'm just starting in the middle and pushing my way to the edges. I'm going to scoop my fabric over a little bit. I'm going to push it all the way down. If you have a little scrapey tool, this would be the time to use it. So I'm just going to start in the middle and just gently scrape to the end. Start in the middle, scrape out to the side. Start in the middle, out to the side. I'm not pushing very hard. I'm just getting any little air bubbles out that may exist. Start in the middle and go out. Start in the middle and go out. And again, guys, I'm holding my opposite hand. I'm just holding the tray still so it doesn't move around on me. And go all the way to the edge. All the way to the edge. Just make sure that there's no little air bubbles. And take your finger and just run it all along right down in the corner. Just want to get everything flattened. It feels like I got it pretty good. Just take your time with this. And then I'm going to take a napkin. I'm just going to take a paper towel and just wipe up all the extra Mod Podge, just real gentle. I'm just wiping the edge down. Mod Podge for the most part dries clear, but if you have a bunch of Mod Podge, it might create like a little lip. So I'm just wiping off the extra. And then go back over it and make sure that it's all pressed down. Then you have something that looks like that. Super cute, guys. Oh my gosh. And then you're going to do the exact same thing on the lower level. So you just want to make sure that you dry fit it. So I'll hold it to the side and you're just going to set it down in there. And you're just going to make sure that it fits fairly well. And you're going to do the exact same thing. You're going to make sure there's no little bits of debris or anything. It's tough to see, but there's a little tiny little bit of thread right there. So I'm going to pull that up. So just make sure that there's no little bits on anything. And there's no debris down on the tray. And all you're going to do is take your Mod Podge and go all along here, and you're going to do just like you did on the upper level. So I'm going to set my fabric to the side. I'm going to get my Mod Podge. I'm going to be fairly generous again. You don't want it to be soupy, but you want enough to go all the way to the edge. Just like that. I'm going to take my brush and I'm just going to brush it real smooth. Just make it a nice even coat all over the surface of your lower level. And you're going to go all the way to the edge. You want to get it, make sure you get it all the way to your candlestick. Just get it brushed all the way evenly. And you want the coat to be as even as possible. You don't want it to be dripping. You want it to be just nice and smooth. Now I got my Mod Podge evenly coated. Hopefully you guys can see that. And again, guys, if you have directional fabric, you want to make sure that your pumpkins or your fabric is dress right dressed, meaning if this is the front and this is the back, the lower level, you want this to be the front and this to be the back. So see how this is this is the front and this is the back. So I'm going to make sure that when I put my fabric down, that it's going to be the same way. And my cut piece is in the back. Make sure that there's no little bits on the back side. And you're just going to lay your fabric down. And you're going to match directions with the upper level. I'm going to scoot mine just a hair. And see how my pumpkins now are facing the same way. And now all you have to do is put your fabric to the edge. And then you want to make sure that your edges meet So you want to make sure that this edge of fabric, this fabric meets this fabric. Just make sure that it touches and get it all pushed down. Guys, these are so darling. I love how these turn out. Go all the way to the edge, and then get your little scrapey tool and work your way in the middle and work your way out. And just be very gentle. Just scrape right to the edge. And I'm holding my fabric down right here with my fingers, and then I'm pushing out. I know it's tough to see with this upper level, but it's the same thing. You know how we started in the middle and worked our way out? I'm starting in the middle. I'm just holding the fabric down with my fingers, and I'm just pushing my little scrapey tool out. But you can use your fingertips too. And you have a little bit of working time if you use fabric. If you've used a napkin or any kind of paper, you pretty much have a one shot with it, unless it's really sturdy paper. And you just want to get all the air bubbles out. Scoot everything right to the edge. You just want to make sure that both of those fabric pieces meet. Just scoot them together and push them down. If it's not perfect, it's okay. You just want to get them close. See how my two pieces of fabric are now pretty darn close. You have a little bit of fabric coming up the side of your tray, that's okay. You just didn't want it to go all the way up because it'll cause a wrinkle, but a little bit's okay. And then what you can do then, oh my gosh, you guys, look how cute that is. And then what you can do is wipe down, if you have any on the center, right on your candlestick, you can wipe that up. But also too, you guys, remember, Mod Podge does dry clear. So I'm just going to clean that up just a little bit, so I don't have any real drips or globs of Mod Podge on the center right there. And same for the edges. I got a little bit right there. I can clean that up. And then once you're done with your material getting glued down, Mod Podge down, then you'll do a second coat of Mod Podge right over the top of your material. So if you're doing paper, napkins, you name it. If you are doing a napkin or a tissue paper, I would let that dry first before adding the second coat. But I've got fabric and it's a lot more durable, so I'm going to go ahead and add my second coat of Mod Podge right on top. And I'm just going to put my Mod Podge right down like that. Take my brush and just go right over the top. And again, I'm holding on to my tray while I brush on my Mod Podge. And I'm not brushing real hard. I'm just going right over the surface. I'm not pushing down very hard. You don't want to pull up your fabric. Just brushing it on gently. And again, I'm going right to the edge. Super cute, guys. And then once this is dry, it won't be hazy. It'll dry clear. Trust the process. If you are using a glossy Mod Podge, make sure you get a very even coat, because if you don't, you'll see the little spots that you missed later on. And you can go back and add more, but with the matte finish, you don't see the missed spots as much. Just going right to the edge. And the Mod Podge kind of helps add durability too, in case this gets damp or splashed with anything, you can wipe it down. And then once you add the second coat on the top, then add a second coat to your bottom layer. Just make sure that you don't have any little boogies or anything hanging out. You don't want to glue those down. So make sure that you take a good look and make sure that there's no little stringies or anything. And then go ahead and add your second layer. But again, guys, if you're using paper instead of fabric, I would recommend letting that dry very well before you add your second layer. And if you find that your Mod Podge is getting a little stiff on you, just dip your brush in just a little tiny bit of water and you can kind of dilute the Mod Podge a little bit so it brushes on a little bit easier for you. I just love this fabric. Dollar Tree's really stepping up with their fabric and their craft supplies. It's just so much fun to go in there and see what's new. Anybody else a Dollar Tree addict? I just get inspired when I get in there. Here we go, guys. Just make sure you get your Mod Podge fully brushed out, real nice and smooth. Because if you leave any drips, it will dry, kind of drip like that. And it's tough to see, but there's a little piece right there, so I grab that before it dries. All right, and the last step we're gonna do is these edges here. You can leave them just like that, or what you can do is grab yourself some ribbon, and I believe this is 7/8 ribbon, but you could probably use a 1-inch ribbon, but this is about a 7/8 ribbon. And this fits perfectly right in the middle of those two lips. It's tough to see on camera, but there is a little lip right here and a little lip right there. And this ribbon fits right in the middle of that perfectly. I think a 1-inch would fit just as well. And I got this at I got this at Hobby Lobby. This is the this is 100% jute, and it's the 7/8, and you got 4 yards for $3.49. And this fits perfect. It's just a little, and this is just like burlap, and it fits perfectly right there. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna measure out how much you need, and for the top one, the top layer, you're gonna need about 25.5 inches. So you cut yourself about a 25.5 inch strip. And then for the lower level, you're gonna need about 31.5 inches. But you guys measure out, I would take your measurements first, because if you're using a fairly thick ribbon, you might need a little bit more. If you're using a very thin ribbon, you might need a little bit less. But those are the measurements that I have for mine. And all you're gonna do is you're gonna set this right down in the middle, and at the back of your tiered tray, because see how the pumpkins are facing this way, so this will be at the front, this is at the back. I'm just going to use a little bit of hot glue, and I'm just going to tack it right at the back, because it basically sits in between those two lips. So you don't really need to glue it very hard. You just glue it right to the back. So I'm just going to take a little bit of glue, just a little bit of glue, and I'm just going to glue that edge. I'm going to set that right in the middle. And don't burn yourself. Just going to push that down until it cools. And then I'm going to make sure my ribbon, just going to make sure my ribbon is right in the middle all the way around. All the way around. It's not twisted. And then I'm going to add a little bit of glue on the back side of this piece. And tack it down. And that's all you got to do. And you can stop there. I mean, you can put one here and one there. Or you can add a little bit extra ribbon. And this is also Hobby Lobby. And I believe this is 3/8 ribbon. This is a 3/8 ribbon. You're just going to find center, and you're just going to put that right in the middle. Isn't that cute, guys? Oh my gosh, I love gingham. So darling. So you get the idea. So what I'm going to do is flip it over, and you guys, if you have a right or a wrong on your ribbon, just keep that in mind. You want to make sure that you have the right side facing out. So I'm going to find center. Or I'm going to add a little bit of glue on the back side of this. Just a little dab will do ya. put it right in the middle. And then I'm gonna put this right in the middle. I'm not even gluing it until I come all the way back around, because this holds really well. Besides, if you want to take this ribbon apart and add something different later on, it'll be easier to take apart. So I'm just putting this right in the middle all the way around. Come right back to the back side. And I'm going to add just a little bit of glue on the back side of this side. And tack it down. Easy peasy, guys. Easy peasy. I told you could do it. And then you have the cutest little edge. Isn't that darling, you guys? Oh my goodness. And then you'll repeat those steps on this side. And again, you guys, this one is about 30, the lower level is about 31.5 inches. And you can absolutely glue as you go, but I find that sometimes the glue bead will show through my ribbon, and I find that it really doesn't, it's not necessary to glue it truly. It just holds. You have the cutest little tiered tray. It's so cute. Could you just imagine? Once this is all dry, you guys, look how cute. Look how cute that is. I'm in love, you guys. Super, super cute. Could you imagine at Christmas time with a little bit of Christmas fabric and some little trees, or at Easter with some little Easter eggs? Oh my gosh, sky's the limit, you guys. So cute. Love it. You guys, I knew you could do it. I told you you could do it. This is so much fun. Could you just imagine these decorated with little Christmas trees or little snowmen at Christmas? Oh my gosh, you guys, so much fun. Easy peasy, super affordable. You'll never guess that these were made from Dollar Tree supplies. I promise you. Show your friends, they'll never guess. Matter of fact, I bet they'll want to make one after seeing yours. So feel free to send them this video. You guys, I hope you had as much fun as I did. I love making these. I want to see how your tiered tray turned out. Send me some photos and how you decorate yours. So feel free to like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.